certainly Tom's, you know, an iconic figure in this organization, and nobody respects Tom more than I do. But I respect all the other players and all the other coaches in this organization too. And so, you know, I think that everybody that is part of it is an important part of it, and I want to, you know, give the proper attention and communication and detail and thought into my input into those decisions. But any decisions made is, you know, it's not an individual decision. There are other people involved, and so there has to be some type of communication, understanding, agreement, whatever you want to call it, and that's not a one-way street.
Greg, you watched Tom Brady play this season. He certainly wasn't vintage Tom Brady, but you also saw him get out with the Patriots out in an 8-0 start. Do you think that the Patriots should want Tom Brady to come back next year?
Should they want him to come back?
Yeah.
Absolutely. They should want him to come back. And here's why. When you talk about a player who has had an impact within an organization, but solely in that organization, who we've identified as literally the cream of the crop, they are the front runner every single year. You can't just allow this guy to just walk out. And again, I'm coming from a player perspective. Every single player that plays this game wants to stay where they got drafted.
With one organization.
Nobody wants to leave. And so I don't care what Tom Brady options are outside of New England. I don't care how great the talent is outside of New England. He does not want to leave because it's more involving than just football. His family, his kids, that's all they know is New England. That's all they know is that area in Boston. And so when you've had success, both on the football field and in your personal life, and you've grown as a family within the organization, personal life, this means more than just a game. It's more than just football. It's more than just records. It's all these things being thrown into a pile and taken into consideration.
Well, so I'm glad you brought up family, because if they do bring him back, it will only be because he is part of Robert Kraft's family, because he is a non-biological son of Robert Kraft, because it won't be for football reasons. And I said it earlier, I will say it again. No one will ever duplicate what Brady did. He played 18 seasons as a starting quarterback for New England. Throughout the year, he got his knee blown up in the first game of the year against the Chiefs. 17 divisional titles, 13 byes, 13 AFC Championship game appearances, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 6 Super Bowl titles, 4 Super Bowl MVPs, 3 league MVPs. It's the greatest career any athlete, you could argue, has ever had, certainly since Bill Russell. It's ahead of Jerry Rice. It's ahead of my guy LeBron. It is the greatest career ever. But he, at this point, is around the 20th best quarterback in football. And his coach knows it. And we saw his play caller know it as well when they refused to trust him on the goal line in the critical spots. Handoff, handoff, handoff. At the end of the game, when they have a 4th and 4, I know it said on the screen 4th and 6. It was actually 4th and 4 with the chance of, do we go for it? Down 1, or do we punt it back to Tennessee and trust our defense? No, we'll trust our defense because we don't trust our quarterback anymore.
The end of the first half of the Dolphins.
It's a very similar situation. And so, Greg, Belichick knows what I just said. That Brady, he was suspended in 2016, came back, 28 touchdowns, 2 picks, a 112 rating. The next year, in 2017, 32 touchdowns, 8 picks, wins league MVP, a 102 rating. Last year, 29 touchdowns, 11 picks, a 97 rating. And this year, they're out in the first round, he has an 88 rating. The way that doesn't jump back up like a stock market graph. It just keeps going down. So if you're New England, the non-emotional thing, that removing the family component, removing the history and the nostalgia component. And Brady said last week, I try not to engage in much nostalgia, so I wonder how much he's thinking about this as well. You rip the Band-Aid off. With or without Tom Brady, the New England Patriots are not a Super Bowl contender next season. So the quicker you start the process, the better it is for the health of the franchise if Belichick's focused on Super Bowl ring number 7. And then there is the one other element of it. I just want your thoughts on this real quick before we move on. I wonder if Belichick, if a tie goes to, I would like to try to do this without him. Like, we are inextricably tied together, Brady, Belichick. It has been the most symbiotic relationship imaginable. But it's not great for either of us anymore. So maybe we both now get a chance to go out on our own. Now, it's much more fair to Belichick because age doesn't affect a coach like does a quarterback, so he can still be great at 68, 69 years old. And I wonder if Belichick, how much of his ego will say, I want to see what this is like when it is entirely my operation, not me and Tom's operation.
Yeah, I think that they both parties feel that way. I don't think it will benefit either of the two unless Tom can go to a situation where it's all set up kind of like Peyton Manning did. But Bill Belichick will experience what life is like without having an elite quarterback, period. And he's never had that. He's never had to live life in New England.
This year. He had it this year.
No, he had a bad offensive unit this year. Look, it was not just Tom Brady.
The Patriots will have a lot of work to do if it is just going to be Bill Belichick. It's not just getting another quarterback because Stidham is not the answer. It's going to be shoring up the line and getting some weapons and all of it. So he will have his work cut out for him. All right, moving on to Drew Brees now.
This for him, you know, obviously, and I think a lot of his teammates did too, and the organization did. I mean, he's battled through a lot, but we'll learn from it. We'll move on.
When you were expected, was this a different game if Carson was healthy?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I would say yes. You know, if he's healthy, you know, with the game plan that we had, I think so. But you know, it's hard to speculate.
It is really too bad for Carson Wentz. He finally got to play in that you know, the much anticipated playoff game we've all been waiting for, and then this happens. Nick, do you think that the Eagles would have won if Wentz doesn't get hurt?
I don't think they would have won if he doesn't get hurt. This is the type of game Seattle loves to play. This is the type of game Seattle's great at playing. Ugly, close games where Russell Wilson makes a few plays at the end. And Josh McCown came in, and while he wasn't able to punch it into the end zone a few times late in the game, Josh McCown played fine. Josh McCown completed 75% of his passes, a 95 passer rating, wasn't turning the ball over. Like, Josh McCown is not the reason the Philadelphia Eagles lost this football game. With that said, there's a couple parts of this play that I want to address. One is the laughable idea that, oh, look, another example of Carson Wentz's inability to stay healthy. This is so different than any other type of injury. I can't prove this. I'm guessing Carson Wentz desperately wanted to go back in this football game. But the NFL rightfully has changed the rules over the last decade to protect players from themselves, and he clearly was diagnosed with a concussion. You see exactly how he got it, and you're not allowed to play anymore. It's the rest of that game. It's unfortunate for Eagles fans. It's very fortunate for Carson Wentz long-term health and viability, but this has nothing to do with the narrative of Wentz being injury-prone. No one can train their brain to not sustain a concussion. Now, on the hit that made it happen, I think that's a play that should have been flagged. I do not believe that's a dirty play by Jadeveon Clowney. I think Jadeveon Clowney's going after the quarterback who's running the football. He's trying to get him down on the ground. I don't think Clowney's a dirty player. I don't think that's a dirty play. There's a difference in my mind, Greg, between an illegal play and a dirty play. I don't think he was targeting Wentz's helmet. I think he's going down to deliver punishment to him, which is what defensive players do to quarterbacks, and he happened to hit him in the head. I think he might just as well have hit him in the back. Obviously, for all parties, it'd have been better if he hit him in the back, and Wentz would have been able to keep playing. But this was, I think, a missed penalty, and the NFL's trying to take the head out of football, and that should have been a flag. I do not think it was a dirty play, and I don't think, Greg, it's the reason why they lost.
Well, for me, I agree with you. I think if Carson Wentz is healthy and he's on the field, you mentioned that Seattle likes to win games this way, and this is how they've won over the course of the season. Well, so have the Eagles.
True.
With Carson Wentz at the helm. For whatever reason, if they have an opportunity to win the game and they're close in close proximity, he does some special Carson Wentz mania type magic at the end of the game, and they're able to move on, as we saw the last 4 games of the season. To the hit was not a dirty hit. It should have been penalized. And anytime you get hit, and I've been concussed, when your head hits from the front. Like, forget the back. A lot of times you see receivers or skill players or even quarterbacks get hit and their head pounds the back and it throttles. But when you get hit frontal and your head pounds in the front and someone's on top of you, it's so hard to bounce back from that. And when you go to the sideline, you can try to say all the right things. You mentioned it. He definitely probably wanted to play, but you just look disheveled.
And you saw that shot of him sitting on the bench, blinking his eyes, trying to kind of compose himself. He did play 5 snaps after that, but he was clearly not the same.
Listen, he got a concussion, and they have to remove him from the game. And I hate it for Eagles fans.